If you've walked by those pastry shops and you've seen those beautiful little berry tarts and you think you can't make it at home, I'm here to show you that you can. Start with some frozen puff pastry that you've bought from the store. We're going to roll this out to about the size of our sheet here. Try and keep it in that rectangular shape. It doesn't take too long before it's almost the right size. Now we're going to do something called scoring. I'm going to take a knife. I'm going to be very careful not to cut all the way through, and I'm going to cut sort of a stencil on the inside, just creating a frame of about 1 inch on all sides. Now what this is going to do is when that puff pastry goes into the oven and rises, the frame or the outside crust will rise higher, the inside will stay lower, and then we'll push it down when we go to take it out of the oven. But this is going to make a beautiful frame for some berries. We're going to brush this with a little bit of egg white all over. The egg white's going to give it a nice shine in the oven. And now we're going to do something called docking. We're going to dock just the interior of this puff pastry. This will allow some of the steam from the puff pastry out so that it doesn't bubble. Now transfer this to a baking sheet. And we're going to send this to the oven. We're going to bake it at 425 degrees for about 20 minutes. Now while your pastry is baking, we're going to make something called pastry cream. Really delicious, really versatile, and a great thing to know. We start off with a vanilla bean. This is half a vanilla bean, and inside are a bunch of seeds that gives all that great flavor. So we're going to slice this in half, not going all the way through, but just sort of score it. And then we're going to open it up, and we're going to show all those beautiful seeds and scrape them out. They almost look like coffee grounds, just like that. And put that into our milk. So once all your vanilla seeds are in there, you'll see all the little speckles. It looks like black pepper. That's in the milk. We're going to bring this to almost a boil on the stovetop. Now to get all those seeds out, because they're so delicious, we're going to put the whole pod in there as well, and then we'll remove it at the end. Now, while that's coming to a simmer, we're going to beat some egg yolks. So beat these up. And then we're going to add some sugar. We're going to bring this to ribbon stage. That's when the egg yolks and the sugar fall from the whisk like a ribbon. So milk coming to a simmer, eggs at ribbon stage. I'm going to now just add some flour here, just stirring it in. This is going to help stabilize the pastry cream and keep it from being too loose when you add all your berries on top. When you no longer see any streaks of white, that's good enough. We're going to bring our milk, which is almost at a simmer now. We're going to temper it into our eggs, which means we're going to add a little bit of hot liquid to the cold mixture here, and then we're going to add everything back into the hot pan. The reason we do that is because if we just added all of that hot ingredient all at once, we'd probably scramble our eggs, and we don't want that. We want smooth, beautiful pastry cream. Once this is almost at a simmer, turn that heat right off. We don't want that to boil. And here's where the tempering comes in. We're going to take some of our beautiful vanilla milk and we're going to whisk it into our egg mixture. This will make the egg mixture thinner so that we'll be able to pour it easily back into the pan. One more ladleful should do it. Now we're going to transfer all of this mixture back to the saucepan. As you do this, you're going to whisk constantly. Remember, that heat needs to be off. Get every little last bit out of that bowl, because remember, those vanilla seeds are where it's all at. Now we're going to turn that heat back on and bring this to a boil. So once this has come to a boil, we're going to let it boil for just a minute. Meanwhile, let's check out our pastry. Oh, it looks beautiful. We're going to take this out, we're going to let it cool for just a minute, then we're going to rescore, we're going to push that down so we'll have a framework for our beautiful pastry cream and berries. Once that's boiled for a minute, it will be nice and thick. Turn that heat off, and we're going to whisk in some butter. I've got about 4 tablespoons of butter here. And just whisk that in so that it melts. Here's the thing, we're worried about getting lumps in our pastry cream, but it doesn't matter because at this stage what we're gonna do is strain it. If for any reason you've got a lump in the pastry cream, it's gonna be removed as we remove that vanilla pod. Let's give this a strain. So just pour it through a strainer and then we'll do a little whisking in that strainer to remove any possible lumps. There it is. Pastry cream, you made it. All you have to do now is let it cool. So that could take a couple hours. If you want to cool it really quickly, pour it into a 9x13 cookie sheet or cake pan, and that will cool super fast. Let's give it a taste. Beautiful. Back to our pastry. Let's do another little scoring. Now it's just had a couple minutes to cool. We're just cutting through a few of those upper layers of pastry at this point to make sure that the inside is separate from the frame, and then use a flat spatula just to push that center part down inside the border. Now we've got a perfectly par-baked crust for our beautiful berry tart and gorgeous browning on the bottom. A piece of plastic wrap right down on the surface of the pastry cream will help prevent a skin from forming on that. So our pastry cream is cooled, our pastry crust has cooled. The last thing to deal with is what we're going to put inside. Now you can use any kind of fruit you want. Today I'm going to use some berries. So I've got some blueberries, some raspberries, some blackberries, and some strawberries. We're gonna mix these all together with just a little bit of sugar. Now, if they're really, really sweetened already, you may not need to do this, but add sugar to your taste. Then we're gonna toss these around. And let these sit while we add the pastry cream to the pastry. Pour this on into the center and get every last drop, and then spread this out, making as smooth the top as possible. But it doesn't have to be like a skating rink. You can have a few waves. All the way into the corners. And smooth out the top. Now add your berries rustic style. You can put them in a pattern if you'd like to, but there's no need. Just toss them on randomly, making sure they all get into the corners as well. That corner piece could be yours. But there is one last step that we're going to do here, and that is putting a little bit of apricot glaze on the berries to give them the shine for that perfect finale. So just dab a little bit of that apricot preserves that you've melted in a pan, melt them down so that they're nice and smooth, and then dollop it on. This will give it a lasting shine so that your pastry tart will look just like those in the pastry shops. Et voila, look at that, you did it all yourself.